afternoon, everyone. I'm Taina Majithia, legal consultant to the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and happy to be your moderator for the session. We thank our esteemed partners, Paytm, for organizing and kickstarting the Knowledge Series session in conjunction with us to expand the knowledge bank of the MSS startup community. The Indian tech startup ecosystem has witnessed an exponential growth rate in the recent decades, the most pertinent being this year of 2021. India is today touted as the second largest startup ecosystem of the world and the third largest unicorn ecosystem globally, as also witnessing a boom in startups making IPO exits. METI Startup Hub, or MSH, is mandated to strengthen, boost, streamline, and expand the tech startup ecosystem of the country. On this note, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce and invite Chief Executive Officer, METI Startup Hub, Mr. Jeet Vijay, for his opening remarks. Sir is an investment banker by profession with rich experience in this arena and took charge of the helm affairs of MSH in November 2020. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Taina. It's a pleasure to be on this platform today, interacting with the startups. And foremost, let me thank Paytm for their engagement with the ministry and with us in terms of building up the local startup ecosystem. We know what the DNA of Paytm is all about and the position they hold in our own ecosystem, and an inspiration it is as a company, as an entrepreneur, the founder for Paytm inspires a lot of young entrepreneurs. And not only are they doing that, they're setting up the stage and setting up the standard in terms of what does it take for an Indian company to become world-class, and what is it required for someone to scale to the level that they can compete and influence policies and enable favorable growth condition for the whole ecosystem. With this program that we have with Paytm, we hope and we plan to provide impactful outcome for a lot of startups that will be engaged with us during this program. And both in terms of mentoring, in terms of scaling, in terms of understanding the role that technology is playing in our ecosystem, the role a good governance, committed, passionate, entrepreneurial spirit that is required to take a company to the heights of success and remarkable respect that Paytm holds in our own ecosystem. So with that, I want to thank you, Taina, and I want to thank Paytm for this opportunity today.
Thank you, sir, for your insights. Our startup community is eager to hear you out today. To begin with, how do you see the Indian tech startup ecosystem evolving in the next 5 years, with special emphasis on big sectors in the startup arena?
You know, for us to understand where the ecosystem is going, we need to understand where we are coming from. So it was our Honorable Prime Minister who had the clarion call back in 2016 that India will be built on the intellect of its young dreamers, the entrepreneurs who have the drive, have the dreams, and have the vision to build a new India. And within the 5 years or 6 odd years now, India has become the third largest ecosystem for startups with more than 50,000 registered startups, close to 18,000 deep tech startups. The number of unicorns that are being created every year is accelerating at an ever faster rate. So now when we look at it, what has happened in the last 5 years is we have created a culture of entrepreneurship. We have created a vision in our society that it is okay to dream. It is okay to explore. It is okay to take risks. Now, having done that in the last 5 years, we are seeing the rewards of that. During the tough time that we faced during COVID period, we realized it was our startups that actually played a vital role in terms of how we face pandemic, right? Be it PPEs, be it in terms of oxygenators, be it in terms of enabling distribution of COVID vaccine through the COVID platform. So a lot of things happen. And furthermore, the impact of the technology, digital technology, in making sure that our society functions, the people at the margins of our society are still taken care of through DBT, through various other schemes, Jan Dhan bank accounts, that all that was enabled through the digital intervention. And that is where we are seeing the impact of the technology, impact of our startups. Now, as we move forward, once you sow the seeds, then you will reap the harvest. So now our Prime Minister has given the call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, under Atmanirbhar Bharat, there has been a focus on homegrown technologies to further strengthen our economy, our society, our ecology. And therefore, if you look at it, India represents a rainbow of opportunity for our startups, be it in health tech, agri-tech, med tech, defense tech, infra tech, you name any of the sector. There's a lot of opportunity for our startups to work in partnership with our corporate partners like Paytm and the government functionaries and institutions to develop, deploy, and scale solutions which can help our country, both in terms of inclusive development as well as equitable development. So especially we have seen in fintech, we have seen in terms of telecom, we have seen in transactions, all the changes that are taking place, all the way the people are being connected to each other is having a significant impact on the future. And now going forward, we will see a significant impact coming out of SaaS companies, because SaaS is a huge, huge sector in terms of where the Indian economy is going to go. We have been an IT services country. Now we are looking more at becoming an IT products company. How do we build platforms? How do we build products? How do we build solutions that can actually be made in India, but used all over the world? And especially particularly anything that's built in India can always be scaled and used in LDCs, right? Less developed countries, where India faces similar challenges and opportunities that majority of the world faces. So I think the playground is set. The opportunities are plentiful. And for our startups, I think it's the time that we look at coming out of this post-pandemic world. The opportunities, how do we capitalize on them, and how do we reposition ourselves as a leading player in the global innovation framework?
Thank you, sir. Also, please throw light on how you envisage the role of unicorns in the startup ecosystem and their contribution to the Indian economy in general.
See, ultimately, what everyone needs is hope. Everyone needs aspiration. Everyone needs a role model. And unicorns represents that hope, that role model, that these are the people that have done it, right? When an industry is formed, it was always a startup before it became big. So unicorns play multiple roles. One is inspiring our young entrepreneurs. Second is laying the foundational stone for these other startups to follow on. They're laying the best practices, they're laying the business models, they are providing these opportunities. Third is the unicorns are giving back. Companies like Paytm are very heavily involved in supporting the startup ecosystem. And I will let Dharmendra and his team talk more about what all they are doing in terms of the startup ecosystem. But I think it's a opportunity that we all need to aspire for, and everyone can emulate and follow upon, because ultimately, in more common terms, we talk about big brother, big sister, right? We always follow big brother or big sister. And I think unicorns are the big brothers and big sisters for our young aspiring entrepreneurs who are dreaming of a new life for themselves and a new life for their country.
Right. Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights. I now call upon Mr. Dharmender Jha, VP Paytm. Sir is a veteran in digital payments and financial services vertical with a rich experience of over 15 years in this arena. Sir, on behalf of the startup community, we would like to pose an interactive question to you. What is the role of the digital ecosystem in accelerating economic growth and job creation in India?
First of all, thank you to Meti Startup Hub for inviting Paytm to be part of this journey. And I would like to answer your question in a way that the digital ecosystem which we see today, the foundation of this whole ecosystem was set up when we had the foundation of JAM Trinity, which is a vision of which was a vision of Indian government, where we have Jandhan, where Aadhaar was introduced, that every individual should have an Aadhaar number. Then there should be mobile. In terms of mobile, if you see the smartphone adoption in India, it has reached approximately 60 to 70% of the phone users are smartphone users. So the expedited and very fast growth of mobile phone users have actually increased the digital adoption. And then I'll talk about the account opening drive, the world's largest financial inclusion drive of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, where it was a target that every household should have a bank account. And this scheme was very successful, and more than 33 crore accounts were opened in this particular mission. And this was absolutely a necessary step for growing the digital economy and growing the overall digital ecosystem. So I would say that the foundation was JAM, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. And the first wave of acceleration of digital ecosystem actually came with these three components only. And this particular foundation opened opportunities for founders to digitize a lot of other traditionally managed sectors like banks, particularly banking ecosystem, where you see all the growth of fintechs in last 10 years, agriculture, education, logistics, e-commerce. So that is these are growth sectors which will be accelerating the economic growth and job creation in India. In terms of education, I would like to emphasize that in the pandemic time, the way Indian education system has transformed so that the education delivery is not impacted, how families and individuals have adopted, how schools have adopted the delivery of education through digital means is commendable, and that is adding value to the digital and the economical ecosystem. Digitization has not led to the job creation, but it has actually led to the skill creation and the productivity increase. Now, with the help of eNAM, a farmer can sell and procure his produce on digital platform, which is very transformational at the grassroots level, how technology is helping. So in terms of e-commerce, if I tell you that the way e-commerce is growing to the tier 2, 3 and below cities, the majority of orders on e-commerce are coming from tier 2 and below cities. That shows the level of penetration that e-commerce has created, the digital e-commerce has created in this country. So in a nutshell, digitization is driving three major things. One, providing ecosystem for information and education, which was not available earlier, giving job and entrepreneurship opportunities to individuals and institutions, and digitizing the whole commerce and the merchant ecosystem, I would say, across the country. Over to you, Tanya.
Right, Dharmendra, thank you. This was truly enriching. And I now call upon Ms. Saloni Malhotra, VP Paytm, for yet another interaction. So, ma'am, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and now a leader of one of the most coveted organizations in the ecosystem, how do you see the next few years in terms of opportunities and challenges for entrepreneurs of today?
Thank you so much for inviting me over today. And I'd love to know a little bit about the audience, as we move ahead as well. But I think just to respond to your question, I echo what Jeet said. These are indeed magical times. I set up my first company back in 2005, and I had to convince my father that startup is, setting up a startup or going and joining a young startup to understand how they function is legit. I had lots of fights at home before I could even do that. But I think today it's just common vocabulary. And they are magical times, the kind of money that's coming into the country where, young ideas can at least get off the ground. The entire setup that the government ecosystem and the incubators that have come up in various colleges has provided is phenomenal as well. So I think, keep it short, I'd say they're just magical times, and there's a lot of hope, like Jeet mentioned.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any closing remarks from you, Dharmender? I think, Dharmender, you're on mute, please.
No, I totally agree with Saloni that these are the times which are best in last 15 or 20 years that I have seen this industry, and these opportunities may be leveraged by the young startups and the individuals who are planning to join the digital ecosystem overall.
Right. All right then. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dharmender. So on this note, we begin our technical session. I invite Mr. Roni Malhotra again, leading and mobile store to take over to you, Saloni.
Thank you so much. I will just need screen sharing rights. So great. Okay. Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible. Fabulous. Great. Thank you so much to everybody for joining in today. I just like to understand a little bit of the audience. So if we can have one or two people from our audience just share, what the name of their company is and what brings them here today, it'll really help me sort of hone my, conversation with you guys over the next few minutes. Would you like to call out some people, because I can't see anyone's name on the screen?
Right. So I'm requesting everyone to either raise their hand and we call you out, or put in a query in the chat box which Saloni could answer, and that would make it more interactive. Thank you for your cooperation.
Great. Okay. So I can't see anyone's name or their company come up. If you could unmute one or two participants, I'd just love to hear some voices if possible. Okay, not a problem. Hi guys, my name is Saloni. Like you already know, I lead a team within Paytm called Paytm Mini Apps. I've been at Paytm for about 4 years and started 4 different businesses within Paytm. And I can tell you that the most exciting piece of work that I've done so far is on Paytm Mini Apps. Paytm Mini Apps is a way for us to engage in conversation with a lot of different brands that reach out to us. And they want to leverage one thing, which is India's largest transacting audience. As you all know today, that a user on Paytm is the dream of most advertisers. We know exactly who this user is because we know their age group, we know a little bit of their demographics, but most importantly, this user has something which is called a payment instrument attached to their name. In all probability, this is a KYC user, but even if they're not, they have a payment instrument attached, which basically means that this user has the ability and authority to pay in their household. And that makes it the most premium user that you can ever get. And so we have thousands of brands talk to us, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, trying to see how they can leverage the Paytm consumer. While for some brands, we can have this conversation and we can go ahead and we can, engage in resources and engage in that conversation. For a lot of brands, it's just not possible for us to have in-depth conversations. So we've come up with this little innovation that you can use as a brand today and go out and reach our consumers. And in case you're not a brand that is looking to reach a B2C audience and you're a B2B company, then we have avenues where we bring you on board as a partner and you can help aggregate some of these smaller brands. We currently work with a lot of different companies and you'll see some of their names as they come up. Paytm Mini Apps could be used for any category, but just to grow this concept, and it's a very new concept in India, just to grow this concept, we're currently focusing on food and shopping and e-governance and gaming. These are the four brands that we are focusing, four categories that we're focusing on, but that doesn't mean that this concept can't be extended to other categories. So as we see today, like I mentioned a little bit about the Paytm app, we have about 300 million odd users. We have millions of merchant partners. We have daily active users in millions, and we have presence from across the country because people access Paytm in multiple languages. These consumer bases are then further split into cohorts. So we know exactly who are the guys who love eating, and we know exactly who are the movie lovers because we run these services on Paytm. We know who are the high net worth individuals and also the gamers, casual as well as more serious gamers, right? So these are cohorts that you can tap into. And that brings me to the idea of mini apps. So every time we speak to anyone who's trying to teach the Paytm cohort, their question is, they want presence on the Paytm app. Now, as you understand, the Paytm app is a limited real estate, right? And also there are only so many things that we can integrate and bring with our own teams. With Paytm mini apps, we open a common infrastructure to each of the brands. What is this common infrastructure that we open? We open up our login APIs, we open up our payment APIs, we open up address bridges, which basically means that as a brand, you want to know who this person is, you want them to be able to pay you. And if you have to physically deliver anything to them, you need their physical address. Now, the brand in turn needs to open up a mobile web or a PWA option to integrate into this system, right? A PWA is often far cheaper, and some of you might be developers in this group will understand that it's far cheaper to develop a PWA than it is to develop a whole app. For a young startup, developing an app could be anywhere between 25 lakhs to 1 CR, depending on what kind of platform you want to build, right? But it comes up to that much. But a PWA could be built in a fraction of a cost and can allow you access to go and just try your service in the market, fail quickly, be more agile, and then come back and build a product that really matters, right? So it allows you fast access to your market as well as ability to be agile. So, and we enable all of these apps both on Android as well as iOS. So you can reach your consumers on both platforms instantly without actually having to invest in that setup. Like I mentioned, we're currently working with a ton of different categories, and those are just listed. What really is the benefit, right? So you can enhance your user experience because you can very quickly change anything on your PWA, and it's not like an app release, right? So you can enhance your consumer experience by ensuring that you have flexibility to change whatever you want. Like you realize one day that, hey, this feature doesn't work, I want to modify it a little bit. You can do it very quickly because it's in your control and you don't need to come back to us for that conversation. You can also enhance your user experience because the user no longer needs to log in or add a payment instrument. Why are these two things so important? You as a user know how many apps you download on a weekly or monthly basis. Once you download an app, how many apps do you actually sign into? And once you've signed into the app, how many apps do you actually transact with? So getting a transacting user on your app ecosystem, on your app, is extremely expensive today as a proposition. App uninstall rates, as we know, are significantly high. And we understand that business. Secondly, what we see as users is that we are not comfortable leaving our payment details in a lot of different places. I was in conversation with a young D2C brand recently, and they said, you know what, someone just attached a malware to our payment gateway the other day. You don't want those things. And as a user, I don't know if I should leave my details on a brand's website, which I haven't heard of before. So these standard Paytm protocols help you maintain an added level of security and create that credibility in the mind of your customer as well. The other thing is that with a Paytm mini app or a PWA that you create, you can actually create an offline and online environment. You can combine those two environments. I'll give you a simple example. I recently ordered, on Paytm, we're running an Indian brand sale, and I ordered a bunch of products, right? And there's this lovely product that came up, and they sent me a little, note with it and a discount code for my next order. And behind the discount code was a little QR, right? Now, this is the brand bringing me back to their website. If I scan this QR in a Paytm app today, again, as a Paytm user, I'm logged in with a payment instrument, and it's so much more easy for me to go and close this transaction. Whereas if I scan it in and just go to their website, I have to again go through that whole hoop of creating a login, entering my details, etc. Right? So for small brands, it gives you the same leverage as you would get as an experience that you would get on other e-commerce websites, but this is not an e-commerce solution alone. And hence, I come to the third point, which is that you can use the mini app to also grow and leverage and reach out to more Paytm users, because we have presence on the Paytm app where we bring you up from time to time. I hope my colleague Sandeep has joined in, and I'd just like the host to help him share his screen at some point of time to show you how it looks on the Paytm app. Right? So like I mentioned, these are all the benefits that the consumer gets. They get a native app experience, whereas the brand has only made a PWA, much cheaper. This is a very secure transaction because we have our security team work day in and day out, weeding out all of the things that could be challenges from a consumer's point of view, right? You can log in and check out seamlessly, and you don't need any storage on your phone to download the app and keep it over there. User journey on Paytm is, like I said, in multiple ways. The first way, which is most exciting for most of you, is that you can get featured on the Paytm homepage if your product is really good. And we have storefronts within the Paytm app where you can, see this. So all of you, if you have an Android phone or an iOS phone, just open the Paytm app, scroll till the end of the app, and you will see this section. As you see here, it's called the Mini App Store or Discover with Paytm and the Indian Brand Sale. All of these are mini app integrations. And when you click on each of these, you will see how the user flow works and how you can seamlessly log in, take the user's consent, and move ahead with your transaction. The other way for brands to access your mini app, like I showed you in the, in the card that I showed, is a simple QR code. This QR code can be a transactional or a non-transactional QR code. If you place it on your products, for example, it's a gourmet food brand, and the gourmet food brand also wants to give recipes along with their, with their product. You can deploy this QR code and say scan in the Paytm app or using your camera, and to check out more recipes. You could use it for that, or you could just use it for buying the product as well, right? And these QR codes can be deployed on your products, on your storefronts, on your packaging, however you like. The third piece of asset that we give, the second piece of asset that we give is the QR code, like I said. You can also scan this QR code to see how we've deployed it for McDonald's today. And just scan this in your Paytm app and scan it in your camera, and you'll see the difference as a user, right? So I'll leave this on a screen for a little while for anyone who wants to scan it. What we saw from this experiment with McDonald's also was that even without prompting, in a day, almost 10,000 users at various McDonald's outlets, and we didn't go to all outlets because this was a pilot, without prompting, in a day, 10,000 users automatically opened the Paytm app to scan. In a lot of people's minds, the Paytm app is a default go-to place to scan, right? And imagine you're scanning and you're landing directly on a transaction rather than having to log in. It is the ease of use that we're highlighting here again. The third, I think the slide is missing, but the third piece of asset that we allocate is a smart URL. The smart URL can be used anywhere on your social or your digital platforms. It is pointing to your domain, but again, it is sending a logged in user with a payment instrument to you. So supposing you run, a campaign on Instagram, you can add a smart URL And when the person clicks on the smart URL, if they have the Paytm app, they are already a logged in user to you. Whereas if you see the regular flow, you have an autofill option. Obviously, on most of our phones, you have to autofill your details, but the checkout is not as smooth as it is in this case, right? We work with over 1,000 brands today, both large and small. If you open the app, you will be able to see most of the names. Some of the names will be segmented for you because you're in a different city and the brand may or may not be possible, may or may not be present in that city. However, these are some of the large brands that work with us and leverage the entire mini app scenario to increase and access their base, right? Often brands feel that, larger brands and upcoming brands both feel that we would much rather have the user download our app and transact on our app. But I think we must remember that India is a country of numbers. And like there's a beautiful book I read many years ago by Rama Bijapurkar, where she says, there are 100 million of each kind. There are 100 million users who will download your app, and there are 100 million people who will not download your app, but would rather use it in another format, right? And that makes this an interesting, an interesting use case for every brand to consider, because at the end of the day, we all want to reach out to the same consumer. And the third and the last, what we discussed was, you get presence on the Paytm app itself. There are icons, there are banners, there are scratch cards, and then there are push notifications. So there are multiple ways in which you can reach out. Not every product needs everything, but depending on the nature of the product and the time of the year for you, like a brand that sells more in a festive season may want to use, a very different kind of property. Someone who's trying to brand may use a very different kind of property. So these additional spots are available as well, right? And the brand marketing piece works very well on Paytm. We have, thousands of brands that have used it to grow in different categories, which is our main screens, and post-transaction screens as well, which are used for branding. In addition, we have scratch cards, which as Paytm users, you might have experienced, where on every transaction, we give out a scratch card to a user. And these scratch cards, when they're scratched, have a promo code, an offer, and they get the user to come back and use your products, right? So that's what I have. And the last thing is that just the way you can download something on Android or App Store, you can also find us on Paytm. We encourage you to put this on your website, because if you remind your users that they're available and they can be found on Paytm, they will definitely use you and access you on Paytm. The last slide, which is actually the most important for most of you as young startups under our Startup India program, Startup Toolkit, we have actually ensured that there is no fee that we take on UPI as well as wallet. Honestly, this should be 0% for startups. There is no charge on UPI, on Paytm wallet, on debit card, on credit card, and net banking. We take the minimal fee, which is what the banks charge us. But other than that, the top three instruments, UPI and Paytm wallet, are the most used instruments. They're both at 0% for startups, especially. And if you're coming through Mighty, right? So that's where we are. Thank you so much. You can follow me on Twitter on Saloni Malhotra, or write to me on saloni.malhotra@Paytm if you have any questions. And if my colleague Sandeep is there, and if you can share his screen, I'd love to just show you the screen in 2 or 3 minutes, and then we can open up the floor for questions. Sandeep, are you there?
Yes, Saloni, I'm here, and I'm joining from the phone. I will join from the phone.
Any questions that might have come up that I can answer in the time being?
Yes, actually there are. So first of all, Saloni, thank you. This is truly valuable, enriching, and insightful. Our first question came in from Simran Chandai, and the question is, why startups fail in India, and what factors to look in when starting a startup?
Right. Why startups fail in India? Well, I think it's a very complex question. And I think there are more learnings. I think I've learned over a period of time, starting multiple ideas. My first company is 14 years old. My second is 4 years old, and a lot of projects within Paytm that I've kickstarted are various ages. I think things take time sometimes, right? And we don't have the patience, or the market is not ready. And honestly, this was the first piece of advice that Vijay gave me on my first week in Paytm, where he said that, if things fail, don't take it personally. It is possible that the market is not ready. It is possible that the product is not ready. It is possible that, we need far more resources to make this dream come true. So don't take it personally, but just keep trying. And I think, yeah, that's what I would leave on this question with. There was a second part to the question. Could you please share that again?
And what factors to look into when starting a startup? If you could just throw some light on that.
Yeah, I think what factors to look into when starting a startup is, while we have big audacious goals and we want to conquer the world, it's important to define smaller milestones for ourselves that we can achieve and we can celebrate, right? And we can see progress in. Because at the end of the day, our mind functions very differently. Our mind needs that encouragement. And in a startup, it's always a very lonely journey. So you need that little accomplishment from time to time. You need immense amount of resilience. I mean, I can't even undersell that. You have to have resilience, and to a very, very different degree. You have to take rejection in your stride at all points of time. So we have here, thank you, Sandeep, for sharing your screen. Like I mentioned, at the end of the Paytm app, at the bottom, you can see the mini app store, and you can see the Indian brand sale. The Indian brand sale actually has 400 plus homegrown Indian product companies. And these are very young startups that we've brought together and pulled together. Sandeep, if you would just click on view all, yeah. So this is the Indian brand sale. As we can see, these are young companies, probably some names you've heard of, some names you've not heard of. And they have all come down, and they've integrated here. They've brought in beautiful offers. Sandeep, if you go down to the categories, just click on any one product. Let's show them the journey that a user takes, right? So let's say gourmet food and drinks. I think your internet is, yeah, right. Now, let's assume that we want to buy the Oreo brownies, and we like that. The offer code is CHE30. Now, when the person has clicked here, they have actually now gone to the brand. They are no longer in the they are in the Paytm container, but they're actually on the brand's website. If you say shop now, right? Add to bag, and you can check out. This particular flow is the brand's flow. If you want one click less, it is in your control completely to make it one click less, right? Sandeep, do you want to place the order? We won't make you pay, I promise. As you can see, his details just automatically were shared, right? And now he's filling his physical address. And that is because the brand hasn't integrated the address bridge. But otherwise, if they had integrated the address bridge, we would only take the physical address once, right? And that's it. You're ready to check out, make payment. I think the screen is not allowed to be shared thereafter.
Yes, Saloni, the payment.
Yeah, for security reasons, I think the screen is not allowed, but what pops up is your standard Paytm payment screen, right? Sandeep, if you go back to our main page. Just go back to our main page. No, Paytm homepage. Right? Just click on mini app store view all. So this is the storefront where we have all of the different categories, and you can find mini apps in food, in shopping, in games, in healthcare, travel, you name it. So I'd encourage all of you. And we also have non-transactional apps, like you can check astrology, your horoscopes, you can listen to music. We have some lovely radio stations that we've added over here. Anything that Paytm doesn't do directly, we are happy to do through the mini app store. So any business that Paytm doesn't do, we are more than happy to integrate you and bring you on board. And sometimes to bring these folks on board, we have aggregator partners. So if you're a B2B business, we can still have a conversation with you. Thank you, Sandeep. Any other questions that are there? I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, there are, Saloni. So
Yes,
first of all, thank you. This was really exhilarating. Sandeep, Saloni, thank you. Okay, how can we target specific type of customers? This is coming from Deepak Kumar.
Specific type of customers on the app, are you saying, or in general?
I presume yes, with respect to the app.
So with respect to the app, how can you target different customers? There are two ways. So if you're on the Paytm app, like I showed earlier, we have cohorts. So everybody who orders at least food once in a month, right, could be an audience base. If you're targeting outside of the app, then, like I said, we give you a QR code and we give you a smart link, and you can use it as per your targeting in an environment that is under your control.
All right, okay. So we have a question from Amin Baba requesting you to repeat what a PWA is.
Sure. So PWA is a progressive web app. It's like a little lighter, mobile website version. I think it will be better if you just Google, and there's a lot of information available on PWAs. It's a lighter, quicker, smarter version to be able to reach out, and you don't have to build, I know there are a lot of ways in which you can build simpler apps as well. But I think from a startup's point of view, when we have limited resources and we are trying to fine tune our audience and our offering and find that product market fit, a PWA helps you be more agile and be more inexpensive, if I can say.
Right, okay. So in the interest of time, Saloni, we'll have another 3 or 4 questions. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely.
All right. So how much of developer resource should one contribute to building mini apps? This is coming from Rohit.
Sure. So very interesting question. And I think it is up to the brand and what you are trying to build, but we've seen not more than 2 to 4 weeks often. And people are able to churn out a full mini app within 2 to 4 weeks. But it really depends on the functionality that you're building as well. If you're building something complex, then obviously it might take much longer. But you'll go and see some interesting mini apps that we have, like a speed test, air quality monitoring, widgets. Those took literally 2 to 4 weeks.
All right, okay. Thank you so much. So Yasmin is asking, which are the most popular categories on mini apps?
Right. So the most popular category on mini apps is food ordering, followed by shopping. Actually, no, the most popular category is e-governance. We did almost 3 million vaccine appointments on Paytm, and Vaccine Finder was a product of the mini app. We run DigiLocker. So e-governance is the maximum audience attention. Food is catching up very quickly. Then we have gaming, and then we have shopping.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Yasmin. This is something very interesting. So Saloni, can you throw some light on any hygiene practices one could follow to garner organic traffic on the mini apps?
This is a tough one. And I think all our categories and every growth manager in Paytm is looking for that organic traffic. It's harder. I think what we've seen is, if you want organic traffic from Paytm, the best way to do it is to use the QR code and to use the smart links. Because what we forget often is that a Paytm user is everywhere. A Paytm user is not just on the Paytm app, right? So, and I'll give you an example. I helped someone in my family. She's just started a business at the age of 66, right? I helped her set up something 2-3 weeks ago as a stall in a Diwali Mela, right? And I was standing with her on the weekend at the stall just to give her encouragement. And I was surprised. So many people just come. And we know that, right? Instinctively, we see the numbers and we know that internally. But when you see on the ground standing over there, a lot of people come and they say, hey, can we just pay using Paytm, right? Like I mentioned in our McDonald's pilot, without a prompt, we were doing an A/B test. Without a prompt, we asked them, we wanted to check the numbers, and we saw over 10,000 users in a day opened the Paytm app and scanned using Paytm. So that is organic traffic for you. If you put the QR code and you just remind the user, scan using Paytm, you will see a lot more traffic come your way than just from the app, right? Because the app is a constrained environment and you are waiting for the consumer, the user to open the app. Whereas in another case, you are prompting the user to buy your product and open the app.
Right. I think that was very well elucidated. The last thing, can we run campaigns and direct traffic for mini apps?
Sorry, can we run campaigns and direct traffic?
Yes, for mini apps.
Right. So I'll tell you, 2-3 things. So large brands like a Domino's or a McDonald's or whatever is able to pull a lot of traffic. But unknown brands, which are upcoming, which are, still establishing their name, it's very difficult to, even if you come on the home screen of Paytm, it's often difficult for you to garner that kind of traffic, right? Because there are a lot of other constraints that we don't think of. It could be delivery, it could be trust, it could be, just the experience, whether the person is looking for a product like that or not. So I would say there are ways in which you could, but for young companies and startup companies, I would highly recommend going the QR code and smart URL way, because it's more effective, economical, and in your control rather than depend on the Paytm app.
Right. I'm also in agreement on that. So thanks, Roni. This was a very, very effective session. Any closing remarks from you?
Well, I just want to wish everybody the best. And I want to tell you that whatever it is, right, just keep moving forward, keep executing. It doesn't matter if you fall down, if you fail, get up, talk to somebody, and get on that job again. The joy of a startup succeeding equals nothing else. It equals nothing else, right? I've built so many businesses in Paytm, but I can tell you the joy that I felt on the first fundraise, on the second fundraise, on my exit from there. Those joys are just very special moments. So keep at it. But in the meantime, do not forget to take care of yourself. I think startup founders often forget to take care of themselves in the journey, and they only focus on the idea. Don't ever forget to take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself, the business will be taken care of. With that, good luck, and do reach out if you need any support at Paytm or otherwise. My DMs and my mailbox is always open for young startup entrepreneurs.
Right. Thank you, Saloni. We value your pearls of wisdom, and I hope the startup community takes up on that. So on a concluding note, a big shout out to Paytm. Thank you for your relentless support thus far, and MSH is proud to have partnered with you. Big shout out to, of course, Saloni and Dharminder, and to the backend team of Paytm for all the support and coordination today. Thank you to the audience for their valuable time that they have spared for the session today. And stay tuned, and don't forget to follow Paytm and MSH on all our social media handles. We have more exciting events in the offing. A very happy Diwali in advance to everybody. Stay safe. And this is me, Taina Marithia, signing off. It's an adios from me.